I'm telling you, man, this salad tastes like pussy.
Spider-Man 3 and The Dark Knight Rises. Both were big comic book movies and endings to their respective trilogies. Spider-Man 3 capping off the Sam Raimi trilogy, and Dark Knight Rises capping off Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Both were big box office hits, and to this day are still talked about. Hell, I'm doing it right now. And a conversation has popped up recently comparing these two, which was the better ending to their trilogies. But before I get into which one I think is the better conclusion to their trilogies, I want to briefly explain why this topic popped up in the first place, and why they're getting compared. And then I'll get into which movie I think is better.
A world where I can say the N-word!
Now, I think it's fair to say that for how massive and popular these movies are, to many fans, they failed to live up to the standards set by the previous entries. The ratings and reviews were generally really positive at the time they released, but over the last few years when they're brought up, it seems to be more to discuss their shortcomings and how they failed to meet expectations. They both seem to have a very similar history or legacy, I guess you could say. They both had a very solid first movie that basically became blueprints for the genre going forward. The second raised the stakes and built upon the first in an excellent way, and it moved the stories and characters in a good and logical direction, and overall pushed the boundaries of what they could do within the comic book movie genre at the time of their initial release. I mean, I consider these movies to be some of the best sequels of all time. And then finally, their third entries fell short and failed to meet the standards set by their own previous movies. And that right there is why they're getting compared. They're both less than perfect endings to two previous great movies, and many would even say that they're disappointing. So people are wondering which one was the better conclusion to the trilogies. But before I give my answer, I want to briefly explain why exactly these movies fell short and what the common issues are that people have with them. Now, there are countless videos out there that dive into the issues that these movies have, so I'm not going to get really into it here. Instead, I'm just going to give like a brief summary. So this won't be a dissection, it's going to be short and sweet. And plus, if you're watching this, I imagine you already know these movies pretty well and the issues with them. Anyway, let's start with Spider-Man 3.
One Piece is not peak fiction. Fuck you!
So the biggest issue I would say was trying to have three villains in one movie, one of which, Venom, Sam Raimi didn't want to do. And with Venom comes the issue of trying to tell the story of the symbiote and the black suit in one single film, at the same time trying to introduce Sandman and continue the story of Harry Osborn as the new Green Goblin, as well as more relationship drama between MJ and Peter, and it all just didn't mesh well. Yeah, needless to say, it was a very overcrowded movie. And this caused many story elements and characters feeling less fleshed out, and the story overall feeling a little unfocused, with it constantly shifting its attention between villains and other plot points. There's more that I can get into, but I believe that's like the main issue people have with it. Now, the issue with The Dark Knight Rises is that the goal was to go bigger, so introducing a more physically imposing threat like Bane made sense. Someone not only a physical threat, but smart enough to outwit Bruce, and believably take over an entire city. But the movie really lacks polish. The action is lackluster and at times kind of funny. Christian Bale's bat voice is just horrible, and the story really pushes your suspension of disbelief to ridiculous levels, because there are several plot points and things that happen to make you go, okay, yeah, sure, I guess. And of course, the twist at the end with Talia al Ghul becoming the villain for the last 10 minutes was kinda dumb, but overall it just wasn't as well made or as polished as The Dark Knight, leading to a very so-so experience overall.
Mommy milkers.
So now that we know why they're being compared, and what about these two movies caused them to fall short, I'm finally going to answer the question, which is the better conclusion? The Dark Knight Rises.
I am shocked! Shocked!
I think between the two, I found Dark Knight Rises to be a better conclusion and ending to Bruce Wayne's story. It was designed to wrap everything up, and even though it wasn't the smoothest journey in the movie itself, when it finally got there, right when the credits rolled, it felt like an ending. It felt like we were done. His story was over. You saw his impact on Gotham, you saw him move on as a person, and you saw him pass the mantle. But to be fair, Spider-Man 3 doesn't feel like an ending to Peter Parker's story, because it really wasn't supposed to be. Spider-Man 4 was planned, and Raimi had a rough idea of where to take the story next. But that was cancelled early into development, and the reboot was planned instead. And that's why the ending feels pretty meh. It's not the epic conclusion to Spider-Man, but more so just the end of this chapter. With The Dark Knight Rises, you get that grand finale feeling, and you can tell while you're watching that this is it. This is the ending. With Spider-Man 3, when it gets to the end, you kind of go, oh, okay, I guess it's over. It doesn't feel like it wraps everything up, especially with Peter's MJ's relationship. It just kind of leaves you wanting more. So by comparison, I think The Dark Knight Rises is the much better conclusion. Although I will say, I actually enjoy Spider-Man 3 more as just a movie. I think it's a more fun watch. And sure, it's very rough around the edges, doesn't balance everything that well, but damn it, it's still a lot of fun. You still get a lot of great moments for Peter, get a lot of fun action, and it still maintains that goofy charm that the first two had, and overall is still a very fun movie. Disappointing, yes, but very entertaining nonetheless. So yeah, The Dark Knight Rises, the better ending of the trilogy, but Spider-Man 3, I enjoy watching more. But of course, that's just what I think. I made a post and asked you guys to vote, which one was the better end of the trilogy, and unsurprisingly, The Dark Knight Rises won with 79%. And while scrolling through the comments, I saw the biggest reason reason for this being the main reason I already said. Spider-Man 3 just doesn't feel like a solid conclusion, so it makes the choice pretty easy when you look at it that way. The Dark Knight Rises felt like the end of a story, while Spider-Man 3 just felt like the end of this chapter, and it could very easily just continue it, which was the original plan. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say about that. Now I want you to go ahead, leave a comment, let me know, what do you think? Which one was the better ending to the trilogy? Spider-Man 3 or The Dark Knight Rises? Leave a comment, let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go and drop a like on it. Thanks for watching.
That tastes a bit like pussy.
I could rip off your tits with my teeth.
I'm gonna squeeze your balls till they pop.
I'm gonna gangbang you all by myself.
I'm gonna rape your tush.
Yes, the camera loves your nastiness.